This video is part 2 of my analysis of Philip Larkin's poem Afternoons. What do you mean part 2? I hear you cry. Well, the reason why this is part 2 is because that's part 1, as you can see. In part 1, I read the poem, I gave you some context about both Philip Larkin and the 1960s, and I also started to analyse the poem too. So I do recommend that you watch that bit first, so that this video makes much more sense to you. In this video we will finish analysing the poem, and we'll also think about its meaning, mood, and maybe Larkin's motivation, and also think about themes too. So with all that out of the way, here is part 2. So this is where part 1 of my analysis of Afternoons finished, with the questions for the final stanza. I hope you've had time to at least think about them and maybe make some notes, because in just a moment some of the ideas that I had will be appearing on screen. So get ready with your Anthology and a pen to maybe make some more notes. Liam in the video, back over to you. Right, so it's all well and good saying that the brackets make the line stand out, but what does that line actually say? The line says that the lovers who will use the courting places that are still courting places, are still in school. Larkin is saying that the children of the young mothers are the new lovers. This suggests that the children will do what their parents did, fall in love, get married, have children, and along the way their love will fade and become something neglected. Now this is very cynical, which makes sense as Larkin's love life was far from straightforward and he never had his own children. Larkin suggests that the next generation is doomed to do the same thing as the generation before them, and that life is monotonous. It never changes. Larkin acknowledges, however, that there will be some time before the children fall into the same pattern of mundanity as their parents, as they are instead focusing on doing childish things, i.e. collecting acorns. The acorns themselves are images of youth, innocence, and a lack of maturity. The phrase, "expect to be taken home," shows that the mothers have become secondary in their own lives. They have to put their children's needs before their own. Larkin may be suggesting that, as a woman grows old, she becomes less important and that her role changes. The image "their beauty has thickened" is an example of Larkin criticising the women as they are getting older, as their physical appearances are declining. This could be argued to be sexist, and I think you would certainly have contextual grounds for arguing this, seeing as how Larkin had a number of romantic and sexual relationships, some of which overlapped. The final two lines are a bit vague, and this is best shown by something. Larkin is clearly saying that the women are no longer the most important things in their own lives, but it is not clear, at least to them, what has forced this to happen. It could be settling down, or becoming mothers, or just getting older, but as readers, we are left never really knowing. If it is the idea of settling down that has done this, you could then read this poem as Larkin defending his choice to never get married and settle down. It's worth knowing that this poem was thought to have been written in 1959, when Larkin was 36 or 37, only a couple of years after he rented his first flat in Hull, and a few years before he got his first car. These three end-stopped lines create a sense of finality, suggesting that the mundanity of everyday life is inescapable. And finally, before we move onwards, I thought it would be useful to make one comment about the poem generally. Now this one's dead easy, so how about you give it a go and tell me your ideas down in the comment section too. And there we go, quite a straightforward comment I think. Nothing changes with regards to the sizes of the stanzas, just like how nothing changes in the lives of the people in the poem. Normal, everyday life is boring, and that cycle cannot be broken, just like the cycle of having stanzas of the same length is not broken. And that is the whole poem analysed in depth. So now we are going to consider the 3 M's of the poem, and if that means nothing to you, I recommend that you have a quick look at the second video in this series, which is the second part of my analysis of Armitage's The Manhunt, a link for which is appearing on screen about now. So that is my rough summary of the poem's meaning. I've tried to quickly summarise each stanza, and then I provided a general picture of the overall poem. And there is my summation of the poem's mood. I've said that whilst it is initially observational, it's a bit negative and cynical in places. So what do you think? Is that about right, or would you have said something drastically different? Please do let me know down in the comment section. And here is my stab at what I think Larkin's motivation was for writing this poem. What do you think? Have I been a bit too unsympathetic here? Have I gone too far by calling his views sexist? And here we have a theme table. And again, this is something that I explained in the second video of this series, the second part of my analysis for The Manhunt. In short, I think you might find it useful to produce a large table for these themes, with a row for each of the 18 anthology poems down the side. If I was filling out the grid, this is what I might have done. The women seem to be powerless in this poem, so yeah, I ticked power. Although nature appears in the poem, I don't think that this poem is really about nature. Most of the time, nature is being used as a symbol for something else. Love does appear in this poem, but it has mellowed and softened. Arguably, it is the love that has caused the women to become secondary in their own lives. This is an interesting one because this poem has quite a negative or cynical view of love. This isn't a war poem, but I would definitely say that it is about time, as it is about a time in a person's life, the afternoon of their life. I don't think that there's a strong sense of a specific place in this poem, but I would say that this poem is about man, or perhaps more appropriately, woman. It is about everyday people and their everyday lives. I don't really think that this is a poem about death, unless you wanted to do a death of the individual style argument. And there's not much religious about this poem. Okay, so there are my ideas, but what do you think? Please do let me know down in the comment section how you would have filled out the grid for this poem. So I'm throwing a bit of a curveball here. Whereas I don't think gender is a focus of enough of the poems for it to be considered a theme, it is certainly a topic that features across them. Creating a mind map with gender in its centre would be a good idea to create then. This will help you to think about the whole anthology generally, help you to make connections, and will also give you some more practice with using quotations and context. I've also given you a little hint there on your screen. Aren't I nice? Okay, so whether or not you've decided to complete that task, that is afternoon's done. Hopefully this video has helped you to understand the poem and that you're feeling ready to answer any question about it. If this video has helped you out, please do let me know by giving it a like, and also remember to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell too. That way you will get all of my GCSE English revision videos straight into your subscription feed. Feel free to add a comment too, either letting me know how much this video has helped you, or asking a question about this poem, or adding some of your own ideas, which I hope I've made it clear by now, I think would be brilliant to see. Doing any of these things also helps my videos reach even more people, so please do help me to help even more people. As ever, I hope you have an awesome rest of the day, and please do remember to take short, frequent breaks as you revise, as a burned out student is not a happy or successful student. So what does happen in the afternoon of a person's life? Well, if you believe Philip Larkin's interpretation, it's where your love diminishes, you become less important in your own life, and to use a quotation, it's where your beauty might thicken.